Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Midday Market Report for Wednesday, November 16th, 2022. Shout out to my wife, April. Happy birthday. I've been holding the door for a while. Happy 50th birthday. Yes. Like a fine wine, we get better with age. We hope the start of the back nine. We're on Augusta. We haven't hit the back nine yet and all that beautiful trouble that we're about to find. But today, I blessed and honored to have good friend Andrew McInnis, our weekly trip across the border, talking CFL. Yes, a bye week. Next week is a championship, some NHL. But this young man is venturing to my neck of the woods this weekend. Huge weekend ahead of him. Bruins, Flyers, Patriots, Jets, a few Vivas, I assume, with Mr. C.T. Betts and the rest of that crew. So you might need a chaperone or two. I'm just 45 minutes away if you need that. So without further ado, let's bring him in, the one and only Mr. Andrew McInnis.
Yeah, we might need a few chaperones, that's for sure. It's gonna be a hell of a weekend. I can't wait for it. And I gotta say, Jeff, you are a brave soldier, mentioning an age or a number there on the air. I mean, that you must have a great wife, and she must not mind anything like that. Because if my mom, if I listed a name on air with an age, I'd be in trouble. So you're a brave soldier for that. That's for sure.
Well, it's funny because yesterday I'm at CVS. And we always try to get a serious card. Once in a while, we'll get funny cards. Last Wednesday was my birthday. And so I got 2 texts, one from each of my daughters, and I got sticky notes all around the house. We had just got back from the cruise. I got a beautiful $300 box of fine cigars from the Dominican. So I was happy. And so this morning, well, actually, late last night after I left the office, I got a beautiful orchid, a beautiful bouquet of flowers. I'm at CVS. Do I get the funny card with 50, 50, 50 all over it? And I had it in my hand, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not kicking the tires. There's no way I'm kicking the tires. So I got the serious card. So she wakes up at 3:45 for work. So she saw what we got her. So I did my part, Andrew.
I like it. You're a good man. I expect nothing less. And hey, it's about having fun and having jokes, but sometimes you got to make it serious as well. And what's funny is I'm going to Boston, of course, and I'm going with a friend that just had his birthday actually on the same day as you last week. And my friend I'm visiting, his birthday is in a week and a half, and his girlfriend, who they live together, her birthday was last week as well. So I said, I'm not going to have enough money to buy drinks for all these guys. I'm going to have to cash some tickets this week to make sure I'm buying enough drinks for all 3 of these guys. I'm the only one not with a birthday with the crew I'm going to be hanging with. So everyone's birthday seems to be in November. And also, Jeff, I should know this, obviously, giving out CFL picks every week. But I was trying to think when you asked me last week if there is a break or not, and there isn't. So the Grey Cup is this week. And I looked it up after the show. I should have texted you about that before the show, but I couldn't remember last year because it was a busy time. I was traveling during that, and I went to the game actually, but yeah, there's no break. And of course, we have Toronto going to the West Coast as it's in Saskatchewan, and Winnipeg obviously already being out and sort of that part of Canada. But it should be interesting. It's going to be a fun Grey Cup to watch.
Something, it's funny because we do shows in the spring with Dan Alexander in the Premier Lacrosse League, and these guys have more buys than I'm telling you. It's just like every other week. No show, no games, all-star break, and then the playoff break, and then the championship break. I wanted to say maybe last year, the year before, because of COVID, there might have been a break. I don't know, but no break. We're obviously going to dive into that. I thought I saw 3.5 was the number. Winnipeg was 3.5 for 4 against Toronto. Was that correct?
Yes, it continues to move, Jeff, in favor of Winnipeg. The number keeps climbing. It's the one cool storyline really for this is the fact that Andrew Harris, of course, there was a long time running back for Winnipeg. First year not playing for them, and he gets his revenge right away, or his opportunity to get that revenge to go up against his former team, which is kind of a cool storyline as we head into this game.
I'm here at the Garden, and I guess we got to start here because if we replay the tapes, we both were in the same boats. Bruins start, no McAvoy, no Marchand, new coach, new regime. We're looking for this team really to come out sluggish, and then by Thanksgiving, we'll look for to start to play taps. They're going to be a power fade, yada yada yada. In what world do they have the best record in hockey?
It just seems to be. It's almost got that last dance feel to their club right now. Do you sense that vibe with in Boston right now? I mean, I'm not trying to dramatize it or anything, but let's face it, a lot of the guys that are contributing right now to this team are a little bit older. If you go through the roster, it's not a young club by any means, right? And this seems to be that team that's just coming together, and everyone's kind of doing their job. The defensive guys are staying back, the depth guys are chipping in when they can, they're shutting down the opponents. And has there been a game where Bergeron didn't play well? Has there been 2 games in a row where Pasternak didn't score a goal? I don't think so. And I think Marchand scored a goal in his game, his return. Same thing with McAvoy. So it's been a perfect storm right now for this team. And they have Philadelphia coming to town tomorrow. Philadelphia, they're crashing back to reality right now. They're a team that started off impressing people near the top of the division with a few wins. And now that Carter Hart's numbers start to come back to earth, things are a little bit different. So what's crazy is that we got to give credit to Boston because not only did they have, not really the easiest schedule, they got good wins on the road. They got, production throughout the lineup. So there's nothing really bad I can say about them. But here's what I will say. I'm waiting for that first slump to happen, right? You learn a lot about a team once they go through their first slump and then how they bounce back after that. So I was talking with Morency, though, on the radio saying our under for the points total is pretty much shot now after the first 3-4 weeks of the season.
They are. I a couple times caught their opponent team totals under. They're not winning 6-5, 5-4. They're winning 3-1, 4-1, 3-2, 4-2. If I told you that the Celtics and the Bruins at the Garden are 15-1 combined this year.
Wow. Good time to be a Boston fan, and a good time to be management for both those teams. I'm sure they're making some money right now. That's for sure. I wish I could see a Celtics game. Honestly, I want to see. I've seen one in my life. Obviously, as you know, like Boston's the closest professional city to me as far as sporting teams go, and obviously I'm a Montreal fan. I get to go watch them play, but they don't have an NBA team, And the Raptors, Toronto's actually a little bit farther away, so. I'd love to see a Celtics game. It just didn't work out with the scheduling. But, man, that team is fun to watch, especially when they're playing good defense.
And I'll tell you this, as we were talking in the intro, Marcus Smart was downgraded for tonight, so he will be out.
Speaking of defense.
They're going into Atlanta, and currently the Celtics, believe it or not, 2-point favorites, now 1.5 at Westgate. They might have moved it a point for that news. As high as 3 at WinBet. So, you get our alerts, and I'm going to throw this one at you. we end the week 9-1 last week. We come into Monday, and I am a firm believer of envelope money. You celebrate your last week on Monday. You go collect from the man. You go to your local watering hole, barbershop, wherever you get your envelope. And then Monday's a new start, fresh day, new week, new beginning. And I had 4 games on the docket on Monday. I released the Calgary team total over 3.5. They get it in the first period, so happier than a pig in doo-doo. Then the other 3 games all came in. So technically, could have went 4-0, been on a 13-1 heater, and been getting the duck boats and parades because the crash is coming. Last night we go 0-2, so we're back to 1-2 this week. We're down a unit. We talk about quality versus quantity. My question to you is, when you're on a heater and you got 4 on the desk, it's a new day, new week, new beginning. How do you approach that?
Well, a lot of people say that when you're feeling it, you're feeling it. And when you're not, that's when you want to lower the volume. But to be honest, like when I'm feeling it, sometimes I feel like that's the best time for me to be able to just, okay, that's the one for me tonight. And maybe that's the one. And I feel so good about these 2, I'm not betting anymore. Right. So I know it sounds kind of backwards because you'd think that if you're feeling it, you're going to shower the board. But sometimes what I end up doing is if I'm feeling it, I'm just playing 1 or 2 games with more money. And then, if I'm not feeling it as much, I'm still very careful, but I might roll back on the money and play 2 or 3 games and try and get a sense. So it's a little bit backwards compared to some people. I will say that obviously if I'm in a slump like I was last week, you definitely want to peel back. You don't want to be showering the board, of course. But I mean, when you're seeing the board, well, I get it. I mean, I get your frustration. I mean, that's how I feel right now. I mean, I had a really good start to the year with props, and then I went through a slump last week. And of course, some of the juice on props, with shop props is like 120, 130 and stuff. So it can kind of eat away at you if you're missing. And so that's what kind of happened to me last week was that I started hitting a bunch of those the second I stopped releasing them. And you think to yourself, man, like but at the end of the day, you don't want to release 4 or 5 if you're in a slump. But I don't know, if I were you, maybe I would I get your alerts. You do it anyway. You talk about stuff you're leaving off the desk, but I might tweet them out and say these couple ones just missed my card, but you're feeling it, man. Congrats on that big week, 9-1. And I wouldn't be upset about it not being 14-1 or 15-1.
And I talk about this all the time. Saturday we go 4-0, and for some people it's not enough. And I try to explain to them, do you know how hard it is to win 4 units or 4.2 units in one day? But the action people would literally rather go 10-5 and have 15 games of action and net themselves 4 units that way versus a 4-0 and netting themselves 4 units the other way. And it's kind of comical, and they're never going to change. I talk about when I get new clients that come on board, use us wisely, ask the question. Sometimes you just need a little rewiring. That's all you want to do. And because you can't see, they don't understand it, because at the end of the day, most people think of this as entertainment. So if I got to pay the guy 100, 150, 200 a week, and I got 7 days worth of action and I'm happy as a pig in doo-doo, then so be it. Because they go to Sunday up 2 units and it's a free swing, Andrew. I'm going to take this bookie for 5, 6, 8 units this week. And usually what happens after Sunday is they lost those 2 units. And then by the late games, they lose another unit or a unit and a half. Instead of saying, hey, you just grinded your way to 7 units. That's your money. You're 12 hours away. That's yours. Here, put a little action parlay together. Have some fun. Scratch the itch and go hang out with the family. Go walk the dog. Just get away for the day.
Yeah. And that's really I mean, for me, I just simply don't like tracking that many games, honestly. Like I find it annoying. I don't like to have my monitor going and my TV and this laptop and my phone. I don't want that. That's like me with props. Like when we first started our show on Wager Talk, Prop It Up, I felt, okay, well, now I'm doing a prop show. I host an NFL prop show with two guys that are really good with props. I have to be releasing, 5-10 props a week. And that was such a mistake because later on in the season last year, I went with like 2 or 3. And it's hard. It really is, because look at how many games there are, right? Every week in the NFL. And if you're really doing lots of prop research, you can find 2 or 3 picks you like in each game, So that is tough for the props. But it's, to me, all about looking at it and saying, oh my God, I didn't even realize, but I'm on a 7-2 run. And that 7-2 run to me is a hell of a lot more exciting than if I was on a 39-31 or 39-30. Right. It's just, to me, I just like those simplistic numbers I can look at. And the funny thing is if the percentage number was the same, people would prefer more action. People would rather the exact same percent, but 45 more plays. And that's just not me. I don't like to do that as much. However, I will say with NHL, that's probably my most high volume sport. And I'm really not that high volume. It's more so just because I follow it the closest as far as swings, like momentum, which team is hot, which team is cold. And one thing I've done a lot lately, well, really started last year, I told you about this, is like at the start of the week on Monday mornings, I'll go through a couple different teams, their schedule for the week, and decide if I plan to fade or bet on them ahead of time. I'm not saying I always stick to it, but like last week was the Rangers. This week I was looking to fade the Flyers, which seems like kind of an obvious pick sometimes, but I'm actually looking to, bet on some more underdogs in the Eastern Conference, because I think we've seen a lot more upsets in the West than we have in the East. So it's interesting to look at that. But, as far as the envelope Monday, which I love that you say that because it makes a lot of sense, is the fact that people, they think that they're up on the book and they have some leeway, right? That's when you want. I'll tell you what, one time, this is a true, no joke, to be honest with you, story. I was with my friends. We were out drinking. We got home. My buddy fired up his laptop. He loves playing blackjack. We're playing blackjack together. I watched him on a computer while he had one too many drinks. He turned $150 into about $2,000. I told him, how much is your laptop worth? He goes, it's like $500. I said, you realize you could smash that laptop right now, buy a new one, and still end up making money off this blackjack. What do you think he ended up doing with the blackjack profits?
He lost it all.
It all went down. I was like, you could have literally took your laptop, thrown it off the balcony, and bought a new one after you withdrew that money, and still came in the green. So people just love action. They don't want to stop betting. And I think it's important for people to realize that it's I love that you call it action parlays and for fun, because it really is. And we've all been there where we want to get action in. Just make sure the action money is a lot less than your regular money. That's what I've tried to learn the most. Like, I went on Gabe's show. I don't want to go on too much of a rant, but last night I told him, hey, look, I have this bet that I'm cheering on for clients that I bet last night, and I have this bet I'm cheering on that I made 10 minutes ago. Those are two different types of bets, right?
100%. And usually what I'll do is I break it down even more, where like we were up 7.1 units headed into Sunday. So what I will map out for everyone is I always put the parlays together, and the numbers that you see are based on 1 unit, $100. Now, if you're up 7.1 units, what I would strongly suggest very simply is take the 1.1 unit, put that to the left, take your now 6 units. That's yours. That will be yours in 12 hours. Now, how you want to play those 3 or 4 parlays, put quarters on all of them. If you liked one or the other better, put a half on one and a half. And that's it. Your week's done. 2 weeks ago, the Cardinals cost us 3 parlays at 5-1, 6-1, and 7-1. Okay. And I'm glad we lost with the Saints early, because we would have got smoked on 2 parlays with Seattle on Sunday. They had 7 penalties, the Kraken did, 3 in the third period, and miraculously they gave up a goal with 4 seconds left, and they lose in overtime.
They might be they're up there with Winnipeg, to me, as 2 of the hardest teams for me to figure out. I don't know what they're doing over there in Seattle, but they'll win the games you don't expect them to win, and they'll lose the games you think they should win. The Seattle Kraken might be what you're saying to me the Montreal Canadiens are to you. I gotta say, Jeff, I hate that you're struggling with the Canadians games because I want to be able to cheer them on with you. You fade them, you bet on them, you bet against the team that they're playing, and you just it's tough. It's tough to watch.
Well, I had two good reads early in the year, and then I went against them twice. And like I said in the text, I didn't know Ken Dryden and Patrick Roy were playing that. And then last night, the number said, the New Jersey team total was 3.5 juiced over minus 20 cents. The under over was 6.5 to 6. And I thought it was a perfect spot where if they were going to win, it would be 3-2, 3-1, 3-0, somewhere in there. 0-0 after one. And I pulled the cigar out of the box and I'm getting it all, and then I'm watching, of course, Gabe, Sharapan, and the rest of the boys on Sports Grid. Oh, there's one. Oh, there's two. And I look at your timeline, another mistake by Montreal, another mistake. And then next thing you know, it's 3 after 2. And then the fourth one, thanks for playing, ended up 5-1.
That was one of the poorest defensive performances I've seen from the Habs this season, honestly. And that says a lot because, like you said, it was 0-0 after one. So I think you had the right read. Honestly, they were just made some careless turn. Your read wasn't expecting something like that to happen. Like Caulfield, bad turnovers, Edmondson, bad turnovers. We saw Dvorak not have his best game. A lot of guys didn't really play very well. The back checking was poor. Mostly it was turnovers. One thing I thought was cool, Jeff, about I always love to look at the quotes from like Marty St. Louis and stuff. He said that he goes, how they played against us is how I want to play. And I thought that was so cool because he wasn't like, it's not going to, talk smack about the opponent or anything, but he just said, you know what they do is what I want our team to do. And it's so cool what New Jersey does because pretty much any small turnover, they make you pay for. They are so fast that you turn the puck over once in the neutral zone. If you have any type of odd man rush against you, they're going to score or make you, or, cause some type of chance. That's why they're number 2 in the league in shots on goal per game because they don't hesitate. They get the puck over the blue line, one pass, boom, shot on goal. So I thought it was cool to watch. And I do like that. Like if you're watching a game and like this is kind of sports betting aside, but also sports betting a little bit. How do you feel about players and coaches complimenting the other team after a loss? Like Joel Edmondson said, you know what? We weren't sharp, but they played really well. Hats off to them. Like, what do you think about that? When a team gives credit to their opponent?
I personally like it because it makes your team, who's going to hear this, it's not bulletin material, but they're in the locker room, they're changing, they're showering, and your coach is basically saying, hey, the better team won. They outplayed us. Right. And it makes your team sit in their shit and think about it for a few minutes. And as you were talking about the mistakes, yada, 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 and it makes you replay the tape back. And it's like, yeah, coach is right. I made that mistake. We made that mistake. I applaud that. Because listen, you only can put lipstick on a pig so many times. Hey, we stunk today. The Devils were the better team. No question about it. Now we'll take that game and we'll move on to the next game.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a good point. And you see it a lot with these teams that are bottom feeders. They build off of performances like losing 4-3 to Colorado or, Tampa Bay. Hey, we lost that game. And I know I bring this up sometimes, but like even from my experience coaching the different sports that I've coached, like at a high school level, you can't always look at a loss as a loss. You can have good losses, right? You can have losses where you played better than a previous game where you might have even won, which sounds funny, but you might be playing a superior opponent. But I don't think that was the case for Montreal last night. I do think they just turned the puck over a lot.
I agree 100%. My bankroll agrees too. Short slate tonight for you. Again, Thursday seems to be the big day. We got 3 games in the NHL. Buffalo at Ottawa. Overnight number, the Senators minus 168. I'm seeing around 159, 160. Do see a 170 at DraftKings. The Blues at the Blackhawks. The Blues big favorites now at around 170, 175. And the Kings at Edmonton. just from the eye test, kind of short number on the Oilers at a 135. There is a 140, 145 at DraftKings. Under over 6.5 there. A flat 6 juiced under in Chicago with the Blues game, and a 6.5 juiced over in the Buffalo game. And there are 7s at DraftKings, Bet Online, and at Penny. What do you see in tonight's board?
Yeah, Jeff, I kind of like the fact that we talk on Wednesdays because it gives us a chance to just narrow in on, 6 teams versus a massive slate. It is fun to look at big cards, of course, but it's hard not to go over in the Sabres-Senators game. I mean, it's about as square as it gets, but as Dave Sherapan always says, the squares and the parallelograms and the circles, who cares about all that nonsense? You pick winners and
the rhombuses.
And the rhombuses, everything. And look, this is a Buffalo Sabres team that is so talented offensively right now. I mean, they have a good group of forwards, but just like Ottawa, they don't have good defense. They don't protect their own end. They protect it like it's something they don't care about. And their goaltending is a little bit soft. And as far as Ottawa Senators team, it's so interesting because you look at I want to go through some of their games here. I'll pull it up here because I thought it was so you take a look at Ottawa. They haven't lost that many games by a bunch. So in their last 10 games, let's see, it was a 2-goal game against Dallas, 2-goal game against Minnie, 2-goal game against Florida, 1 goal against Tampa, 1 against Vegas, 1 against Philly, 2 against Vancouver. Jeff, they haven't lost or won by more than 2 in their last 10 games. So why am I bringing that up? Well, look, I don't think that they're getting blown out by anybody. I'm not saying that should be anything they should be proud of. But it's not like this Ottawa Senators team is playing downright bad hockey. They can't keep the puck out of their own end, right? And it just haunts them. Their third periods are horrible. You talked last year about St. Louis in the second period. Let's look at the numbers for Ottawa in the third period because they give up goals then. I mean, their first period seems to always be good. In their third period, they blow games. It's hard for me not to look at the over in this game, but if I had a gun to my head and was playing the side, well, I guess it wouldn't be a gun to my head because that would be instant gratification, but an instant win. But long term, I would take the dog here. I mean, I feel like we're getting way too good of a number here on Buffalo at plus 140 and that number there. I don't think I could justify paying that for the Ottawa Senators. But is there anything you could say to talk me off this over? Because I don't see how I don't look at it again. Ottawa can try all they want to play good defensively. I don't see it from them. And no Thomas Chabot either.
I just pulled up the team totals. Buffalo 3.5 juiced under minus 170. Okay. So you got a 6.5 and 7 here. Okay. I was going to reach out to you last week when we had the Calgary under at Boston and break that down from a Boston minus 175 to an over of 6 versus if you thought Calgary team total was going to get to 3 and the Bruins are going to win, then that over had to get to 7 because at minimum the Bruins are going to win 4-3. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at this right here, okay? And you're going to call me crazy on this because they're baiting you on the Ottawa over team total of 3.5 over 130, okay? So we're going to play the game here. Are you comfortable going to the window betting Ottawa minus 170 tonight? Are you comfortable?
No.
Okay, me either. Are you comfortable going to the window betting Buffalo plus 145 to win the game tonight?
No, but if I had to pick a side, I'd pick that. Okay. But no, I'm not comfortable.
Okay, so now we're cooking with Crisco here, okay? You got an over a 7, okay? Ottawa team total 3.5 over minus 130. Mm-hmm. Okay, you don't have to lay the 170. If they're going to get to that 7 number, they're going to score at least 4 goals. Number 1. Number 2, you talked about how porous Ottawa is in the third period. They're giving you Buffalo to get to 4 plus 150 tonight. So of all the scenarios that I brought up to you, the 2 scenarios are Ottawa to get to 4 or better, and you're only laying 130, you got to lay the juice, or Buffalo to get to 4, and they're gifting you a plus 150.
So what's that telling you? Because for me, if I was to play the dog, I probably would still just take the money line if I'm taking the dog. But if I'm taking the Ottawa, I would take the team total.
Perfect there. I'm not laying the 170. I will take my chance at minus 130 that Ottawa gets to 4 or better, maybe 3-3 overtime, maybe a 3-2 lead and an empty netter. Okay. I guess the real question that I have for you, are you more comfortable going to the window and playing Buffalo plus 145 to win the game, or Buffalo to get to 4 or better plus 150? What are you more comfortable there with?
I think I would probably rather take the dog just outright to win, because I would personally, I just wouldn't, I would hate to see that 10-cent discrepancy and watch them win a 3-2 hockey game. Despite me liking the over, if I was picking the side and looking for some plus money, I'd probably just take the money line in case Ottawa didn't score and it was, Buffalo got 3 and protected their lead, I guess. I would hate to have plus money in my back pocket and watch them win and get a little greedy over 10 cents, I guess. But I get your point as well, or the point, we could take a team total because that way they don't have to win the game. Correct. Right? And you're getting 10 cents more. But from where I stand, I think I'd probably rather just take the money line.
Well, and let's say your shop doesn't have the 6.5, it has the 7. So you still got to get to 8 to cash that ticket anyways.
That's true. That is true. Well, look, I got to throw a question back to you. With these highly juiced totals now, how do you bet them? How much do you take into account let's say you see a 6.5 at 135. Are you just saying, hey guys, find a 7? Don't buy the 6.5, or are you saying that 6.5 hook is really important to me? Look for a 6.5.
I'm going plus money on one of the team totals there.
Okay, not even full game total. Okay.
I'm not going to go full game. So this is a perfect example because there are some 6.5s there. There's a lot of 7s out there too. So you know this, especially in our lanes. It's a no-win situation. You release over 6.5 to your clients tonight, a 3% play. Right. The juice is minus 130, maybe 135. It's not 150 or 160. It's a no-win situation because if it gets to 7, you're going to get the trolls to say, well, my guy had 7. Okay. And if it lands 4-2 or 3-2, everyone in the world had 6.5. So you can't win there. So I would look at this, and I think they're trapping you with Ottawa team total at 3.5 minus the 130. I really, really do. I think that's a trap because you're saying it's a 7. They're going to get to 4. I think they're going to win the game. I'm trying to play the devil's advocate saying, you're going to give me plus 150 on a 7. Maybe is it Buffalo? 2-2 going to the third. They take a 3-2 lead. They get the empty netter or whatever. And you're giving me the plus 150 there.
Yeah. But do you see a scenario where Buffalo scores 4 and loses the game?
Well, the total's telling me there is a possibility that this goes 5-4.
Yeah.
Because the team totals, what I love about the team totals is I'm window shopping with the eye test, looking for the plus money number 1 or the telltale sign. We are 4-1 on team totals under 2.5.
Yeah, that's 4-1.
And we're getting plus money on it.
There was one last week I wasn't happy you had. I was on the other side of it. But I mean,
that was the Calgary Bruins game.
Yeah, that was the Calgary Bruins. Well, you're sniping those and you're fun. And the good news is, like you mentioned, you're window shopping for a good price, which is really key right now in the NHL. And that's why I asked you about the price in general, because who would have ever thought? I mean, when I started handicapping the NHL, it wasn't a thing to shop around for a price on a total. Most totals were 110, 115, 120. Now, with how much scoring there is in the NHL, you're seeing some 6.5s at 140. And what's crazy is, I'm not saying this is something we can advise people, but if you look at that Canucks game yesterday, which was a high-scoring game, I wish that was my highest-rated play of the year so far, of course. But if you waited 2 minutes into that game, that's at 6.5 plus 100, which is insane, right? They're trying because they know, obviously, the books know which games are expected. We're all going to love the overs. So to your point with these team totals, not a lot of people are. I'd love to know the volume of team total wagers, wouldn't you? I mean, do you know anything about that? Because they know people are saying this game's going to be the highest game. We could put that. People hate sevens though, so let's juice it up as high as we can before moving it to 7, and keep like the same thing with that used to happen with 5.5s. There used to be 5.5s minus 135 because that key number, you get the 4-2 win, boom, you know. But if it lands on 6, you're pushing. No one's happy but a push. So I think it's so interesting with the team totals, not only because you get great value, but you're also just not having to deal with having to, wait or get the best number. Who would have ever thought, Jeff, that we would have to say, well, what time of day did you get this total in? Because I got it in at 4:00 and it was 125. Before puck drop, we're seeing massive movements in these prices on totals, which is shocking to me.
Yeah, I mean, just trying to look at this game here, and something smells to me. Obviously, when you see a minus 170, I'm not going to bet the under. They're trying to tell you Buffalo's going to score 3 or less tonight, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But with a 6.5/7, with an Ottawa team that's favored by 165, 170 is the consensus, and their team total is 3.5 over minus 130. That's the trap to me, meaning, well, Ottawa's going to win, and most likely they're going to get to 4. Vegas is giving you the carrot to say, hey, don't sweat the over in the game. Just Ottawa's going to get to 4 here. They're going to be up 3-2. They're going to get the empty netter. Why sweat? You're saving 40 cents. You're only doing it minus 130 versus the game. So it's those Jedi mind tricks that I'm always talking about. And it's, am I going to go run and play Buffalo's team total over 3.5 tonight? Most likely I'm not. But you're giving me the plus 150. And you talked about the juice. I'll use 130 as an example. If you go 5-5, all with minus 130s, you're down 1.5 units.
Exactly.
Those 30 cents add up real quick. And once you start playing the 30s, well, I can play the minus 135s. And next thing you know, you're tiptoeing into the minus 140s because you really, really love this one. There's no way this one doesn't come in. And that juice at the end of the week really, hey guys, we went 8-6 for the week, but we're down 1.75 units. And you're sitting back and saying, how the hell did that happen?
Yeah, that's why I would rather, see people tweeting more about their unit sizing, their units up or down versus, hey, I went 4-2, but I had 2 losses that I bet minus 220s. Yep. You know what I mean? That's huge. It's really important. But, one thing I've really learned lately, and I've started to actually interact and share more plays with different people, including yourself. And, whether or not me and you were chatting that during the day, we're exchanging plays, is that really everyone bets differently, which is so cool because you can grab a little bit here from this guy, you can grab a little tactic from this guy. This guy's high volume, this guy's low volume. And what I found is that I have a different appreciation for the people that are able to successfully win while betting these minus 200s, Jeff. Some people do it. I'm not saying every single day they're betting one, but I think that the whole price argument is something that, as an industry, people look down upon anybody that bets a lot of high prices. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
But I find that there's a lot of respected people that can do it. To me, it's a matter of how you do it, how often you're doing it, and if you're still managing your bankroll. If you gave me, Vegas over the Coyotes tomorrow at minus 190, I might give that I might bet that at a money line for me. Why would I take the puck line or team total and risk them winning? I don't know, let's say 2-1, right? But I've also learned through you with the team totals and through some people looking at just full game totals, or looking at some people that bet the plus 1.5. I used to hate plus 1.5. Do you ever bet those? Because to me, plus 1.5, I wouldn't be able to sit there with myself after watching the empty net go in. I can't do it. But some people successfully bet those. So it's just really interesting. And I'm sure, I mean, you've been doing this a lot longer than me. I think it's just so cool talking to, and you do so many shows, how many people bet differently. Some people I know at Wager Talk with hockey, they'll bet 2 dogs in hockey and just hope to cash one. You cash one, you earn 0.3 units, right? And you're not sacrificing any units if you're not losing 1.2 or 1.3 or 1.4. Last night I go 1-1. I had Vegas's team total. I was a loser last night, and I went 1-1. I lost not a lot, but losing that juice from the team total killed me, right? And I had a big winner with the Buffalo game over. So it's just so cool because do you know anybody that bets those minus 200s and stuff, and people look down upon it? Because I've gained a real respect. That's how I try to treat life in general, honestly. No matter what anyone's views are on this or that, I think we can all be friends and go to dinner together. That's how I feel with betting. I don't care if this guy bets minus 200s each day or this person just tries to find the plus 250 of the day. We're all trying to find winners, but it's just a matter of consistently doing it the same way, I think.
100% spot on. And what has evolved for me, and I'm probably going to say this is post-COVID, when that March afternoon, I'm sitting at the house and the Big East is going to halftime, and then they say, that's it, we're pulling the plug. The world stopped.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to survive? How's East Coast sports going to survive? There's no sports. Mm-hmm. And so I started getting out of my skin. I had to now personally dig into other markets. The golf market, we had a BJ Vanderwood that was doing our golf that suddenly passed away. So I had to now get outside of my comfort zone. We started diving into NASCAR. We had we started going into comeback player of the year and other situations. We had Alex Smith at 14-1 in Caesars.
That's awesome.
May 1st. And then when he got the trophy and I reposted it, some guy goes, yeah, there was no 14-1. Well, I had to go back to the blog where it was time stamped and said May 1st. And then all of a sudden, crickets, the guy's nowhere to be found. So what I've now done is started peeling the layer back even further because there's so much information. There's so many websites. As you know, the 2 big games, Buffalo versus Minnesota. You get $1 million on Buffalo. You got $1 million on the Vikings. Well, at the end of the day, who won? The bookie won because he made his $100,000 in juice. No one else won, right? So I go to the team totals. Where is there a mistake? If the under/over is 230, yet the Celtics are minus 120 and the Hawks are minus one, team totals at 105. I got a 5-point discrepancy. I just keep going and try to find other avenues, less picked carcass, I like to say, because the NFL lines and the college lines come out Sunday night, Monday morning. Mm-hmm. By the time kickoff is on Saturday and Sunday, it's that carcass at your landfill that has been picked apart by a bazillion times. It's too sharp.
It's a good point.
It's too sharp.
Jeff, I had someone the other day on Twitter try and tell me it's a losing proposition it's a losing idea to be betting, minus prices or minus props, like minus 120 or whatever, not plus money props. And I literally can say, like, if I was only betting props this year, I'd probably be having a winning year so far in NHL. Props to me are huge. Jeff, I'm telling you, if you look on the New Jersey Devils to opponents of the Anaheim Ducks, on the Colorado Avalanche, opponents of the Chicago Blackhawks, those 4 examples, you could make money betting shot props. If you're betting Dylan Larkin or Dominic Kubalik for the Detroit Red Wings most games, you're making money. If you're looking at Jordan Kyrou for most games, and this is what's crazy, is that using certain websites, you can find out pretty quickly, Okay, this guy is still being undervalued. Once he gets up to that no range of 165, I'm done with them. And the funny thing is that happened with Brian Rust. He was like on a 9-2 run with his shot prop, and the second the bookies raised his price, he stopped hitting it, which is hilarious and probably a good thing for them. But I'm telling you, like, these shot props, that to me is like the new first period over. That is the new thing, because you're going to be able to find guys, and you can find unders too. Like Victor Arvidsson, he's playing for LA tonight against Edmonton. He has only hit his shot prop in 5 his last 16 games for 31% hit clip. Who is thinking of that? Who is at their desk thinking, wow, Victor Arvidsson, maybe I'll look at his under for shot? Nobody, right? And like, that's why I think the shot prop is really a cool market to look at right now, because, hey, maybe I like the under in this game, and, well, maybe I think the over could hit, but I don't know what to do. Well, look at some numbers like that, and it could shock you. But to your point about leaving winners on the desk, every day there's like 5 or 6 of these guys I like, and that's really the problem.
And that's where the spaghetti strainer comes in. Yesterday, I was talking on the closing bell with Riley, and I had all these that hit the system, and I left them all on the desk, and I graded it. They would have been about 50%. And it's just a process. It's a shake. What am I going with today? What am I not? It's a gut feeling, late moves on the numbers. And for your point here, whatever's working, stick with it. These guys can only concentrate on so many things. So if you got a website, you got some information on these props, the market has not caught up to them, stick with them. Just keep going, whatever's cashing tickets, and eventually the market will catch up to it. You know, the high-profile games, you go on gambling Twitter, everyone's on Kansas, everyone's on Duke. Well, what happened? Kansas comes back and win. Michigan State last night versus Kentucky. Everyone's on Kentucky. Some people on Michigan State. Double overtime. I mean, that's what they want to see you. Bet the high-profile games. I'm the ones on a Saturday that's releasing South Alabama. I'm releasing.
I love it.
You know, the less picked ones, because they don't care about them, because they don't get enough volume to get burnt on them.
I find sometimes those games, I know it's kind of an algorithm, but those are the games you can even make money live betting sometimes, because nobody else is thinking about doing it. Like I probably make more live bets on games containing crappy teams in the NHL than I do on these highly touted games, because number one, any given game, we could see Carolina shut things down, or we could see them put up 4 or 5. But when you look at a Chicago Blackhawks team, like tonight, if their game has a quick goal to start the game off, you can expect me to bet the under pretty soon, right? Because they're not going to keep that up, right? That's kind of the way I look at it with these bottom tier teams. You can kind of expect what to see for the rest of the game a lot more than you can with a top of the tier, club like that. But I gotta say, I liked the under 6 earlier in the day. I see at DraftKings now it's now 5.5 towards the over at 120. So that 6 is gone in that game. But I did like the under in the Blues and Blackhawks game, and I agree with you as far as the Oilers. I have seen that number move though on the Oilers to up to, like, it was started off at 135, did you say? And now it's upwards to 150 at some shops. So that might be a team total play for me, Jeff, at the LA Kings. Who would have thought they were an over team this year? They're definitely not an under team, and they do not help out their goaltender very much. It's crazy. Dallas and LA are over teams, and the Toronto Maple Leafs are an under team. What kind of world are we living in?
I saw your tweet the other day and said that, and I was scratching my head because I think I had Toronto team total over there, and I'm just like, well, that's a loss, so we're just going to move on. I'll add this. Looking at the other two games, the Blackhawks are 2.5 over -120. St. Louis 3.5 under -130. As you said, the lines dropped to 5.5. Almost baiting me to say the Blackhawks aren't going to get to 3 tonight. That's just the outside looking in. And, you got the Kings 3.5 under -155. You can get them to get to 4 and get them at around plus 130 or 135 there. So it's definitely, I just try to open up people's eyes and say, hey guys, there's other ways than XO, there's a million different ways to get in here. You talk about the shot props. There's a million other props to go to. I talk about team totals. My guy's probably looking at me now since, August, September, like, hey, you ever going to release a side, Jeff? Yeah, I do once in a while. Don't get me wrong. I do. But we're having a lot of success on these team totals.
I've been following along. I wish I've tailed you on more of them. I have tailed you on some of them because you got a good read on them. So potentially a team total over for me tomorrow in Beantown. We'll see. But I'll tell you what. Just as from a fun standpoint, Jeff, I can't wait. My buddy that's going with me to the game. We always talk hockey betting together, and he loves like FanDuel and DraftKings, like the fantasy stuff. I can't wait to be at a game in person, cheering on shots on goal props. It's going to be hilarious. Just not even caring who wins, just watching for certain players to do well or goal scoring props. And I always tell people, because as you know, a lot of people that are in the industry, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, a lot of people are just sports bettors and aren't sports fans. I could go tomorrow to watch a D3 basketball game between the two worst teams, and I'll have a good time, right? I don't need a bet to be there, but player props sure as hell help. It'd be a fun time, that's for sure.
I can't, but we've talked forever here, and I could talk for another 2 hours. I know you're swamped here, so let's dig into the championship and the CFL. Give everyone a preview, what your eyes see, what the market sees, and what you think might happen come this weekend.
I mean, well, I owe the viewers some winners because last week I didn't execute, especially with that over in the BC game. I did expect a better effort out of the Lions. I guess we should have just, kept it simple, stupid, and said, BC, Winnipeg is going for a three-peat. They're the better team. Let's take them and let's ride. And unfortunately, I didn't think like that. I had Montreal plus the points. I don't regret that play, though. That was my strongest play of the week. And I'm telling you, Toronto moved on. They played well. Tavares Daniels, Andrew Harris, Brandon Banks, they all played well. But I think they got bailed out by a lot of just bad penalties. I'm telling you, the amount of second and longs I saw from Montreal where they took a pass interference or an offside or a holding, those type of mistakes that Montreal made will not happen against Winnipeg. Winnipeg won't give them those things. I just wanted to bring this up, Jeff, because I think it's important for full transparency. 56%, 33 and 26 on the year, plus 17.55 units on the season. That's with a 1 to 5 unit ranking scale. So a winning CFL year again, but not as great as I would have liked. But we chipped away. We found some winners, and during the second half of the season, I was low volume. But anybody that followed along on the show, hopefully you're able to cash some tickets with us. But yeah, I'm going to go BC, and I'm going to go Winnipeg in this game. I would recommend taking a look at. You're talking about some team totals. I would take a look at the team total under for Toronto as well, because here's the thing. When you look at Winnipeg, they have a strong run game, and they know how to utilize the clock. They can throw deep. Zach Collaros is no stranger to going deep and looking downfield, but their coaching staff knows how. When you watch their games and you have the opponent, which I don't go against Winnipeg that much, the clock is your absolute worst enemy. They really are. Winnipeg knows how to piss you off by just holding on to the football, first down after first down after first down. And I think that's going to make it really tough for Toronto. Like I mentioned, it's a really cool storyline. Andrew Harris, kind of the older veteran running back. Winnipeg said, no, we don't need you anymore. We'll move on from you. And Andrew Harris brings his new team to the Grey Cup. But here's the thing. How often are they going to be able to run the ball with Harris if they're down 10 points, right? They're not going to be able to look to their run game, and they're going to have to throw the ball. It's going to become predictable. I think Winnipeg three-peats in this one. But I was thinking about you on the weekend because I was thinking about what you said to me, if there's a team to look for. And I've said all season long, a team from the West is going to win the Grey Cup. But if anybody bet Winnipeg last week, you bet them again this week. I think you make more money doing that than you would have if you just took them last week to win the Grey Cup. And I think if they win, they do cover the point spread. A lot of Grey Cups past couple of years have gone over the total. I think this one has a chance to go under. They're playing in Saskatchewan. Not really expected to be great weather. It's going to be very, very cold. Like I mentioned, both teams do have talented running backs. They don't look downfield a whole lot. They can. But I think this game could start off very, very slow. It could have that first half under vibe to it, Jeff, which could be a play for me as well. But I think Winnipeg ends up with a three-peat. I think BC is definitely the next team up if they keep Nathan Rourke. Of course, Rourke has been announced that he is working out for NFL teams in the next coming weeks. I think he's going to be in kind of the Bo Levi Mitchell standpoint and some of these guys that were played in the CFL, where he's going to find out, hey, look, he's young. He has the opportunity. He could make something for himself in the NFL. But do you want to be a backup or a practice squad player and make a hell of a lot more than you're going to make in the CFL, even as a top player? Or do you want to be the guy for the next 15 years of your life in the CFL? That's the question I think Nathan Rourke will face. But I think BC is next in line as that team. But as for now, I think the three-peat does happen for Winnipeg. But I think it could slide under. If anybody out there can bet props, though, I would take a look at some Andrew Harris props. I mean, the storyline is so cliche, but the fact that he's playing his former team, the fact that he is that rock for them in Toronto, their offensive line did play well last week. I could look at his rushing yards. Unfortunately, I think in the States, there aren't really that many avenues for betting CFL props, but I do think that Winnipeg three-peats, Jeff.
I'll close with this. I look at the spreadsheet. I see the actual number of a 48 with a 6. Okay? That's what I see. Here's the Jedi mind tricks, because they know how much money they're going to get on Toronto. They know how much money they're going to get on Winnipeg. They already know basically which way this line's going to go. So they did we're going to open it up around 4.5, and we're going to watch it climb to 5.5. There might even be a 6 on its way at Chris right now as I speak. My question to you is the storylines, as you just greatly put it out there. The three-peat, Harris. Can you see this ending up 24-23, 27-24? I mean, they didn't open it at 6 to get the Toronto money. They opened it at 4 to get the Winnipeg money, and they're getting it.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, there's definitely they expected to get Winnipeg money. They continue to get it. What was it? I think it was 2017 or 18. Toronto was in the Grey Cup, and they were 7-point underdogs, and they won outright. This is obviously a different scenario, but it just doesn't have that feel to me. They can play spoiler. They have the talent, but I just think that I almost feel more confident in the under than I do in Winnipeg, because I think that the utilization of running backs is going to be so key, and the amount of time that Winnipeg takes on their drives is going to be a huge factor in this game as well. So I get it. We could possibly get, I'm telling you, we could probably get a good in-game number on Toronto.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really the best way I'd look at it. I'm looking forward to it, though. It's going to be a hefty day for me being in Boston on Sunday, spending that American currency. So hopefully I can make the money back on the Grey Cup.
The scroll has been going the whole time, as always. They can follow you at McInnis Picks at Wager Talk. They can go over to Sports Mayflower. Go over to YouTube to Mayflower Sports. Yes, you are coming my way to Boston. We're going to try to connect in between your 2 games, your Garden, your Gillette Stadium, in between CT bets. I'm going to try to tiptoe, maybe grab a quick lunch at the north end of Faneuil Hall. But tell everyone where they can find you, Andrew.
Yeah, my short link is wt.buzz/am over at Wager Talk, and on Twitter at McInnis Picks. Just check me out, give me a follow. It's all I really ask, and I always try and tweet out, the prop plays that just missed the board, or some free plays I have going, and of course a lot of video content as well. But for this weekend, it's going to be a jam-packed NFL weekend with prop sides, totals, NHL. Thursday, Saturdays are always busy days, and other than that, look forward to hopefully seeing you, Jeff.
Same here. From myself, Jeff Dawson, a DC Sports Investor, from the one, the only Andrew McInnis and McInnis Picks at Wager Track, who will be coming over to our border this weekend. We wish you safe travels. Hope to catch up with you soon. And myself and Scott Webb will be back around 4 o'clock, 4:30 for the closing bell. See you soon.